to call our meeting to order. John, would you call the roll, please?
Harry? Here. Alan? Here. George?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Roll's been called.
Thank you. We have our public comment period. At this time, the commission will recognize members of the public who've indicated a desire to address the commission. Seeing none. Commissioner, council, staff comments. Commissioners, anything? Gordy?
There was some comment in regard to that article in the paper about the water tower, but that hasn't been the entire council. That were just one member in particular. So, but I understand you're going to talk about it this evening anyway. So,
Okay.
I'm hoping it isn't an issue tomorrow night at the council meeting.
Thank you for the heads up. Staff?
Sometime back, we mentioned that we're going to look at fluoride in the water, and we did have some meetings internally and reviewed that and determined that we're best to stay with what we're doing, continue to add fluoride to the water. Really saw no good reason to discontinue that practice.
All right. Board governance discussion. At our last meeting, we talked about the value of the utility and getting that out in front of the community and in front of the council. Asked staff to come back with a crafted motion that would accomplish what we talked about. So the motion, which I'll make, is staff will prepare and annually update a presentation on the value of the utility to the community to be presented to the Common Council by the Commission in the spring of each year. Does that encapsulate what we discussed last month? Is there a motion to approve that? Or in a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Local government property insurance fund withdrawal.
Yeah, we've been insured through the local government property insurance fund for many years, and some time back, and remember, I think it was in the budget, that they talked about eliminating that, so then we would have to find alternate insurance. And the alternative was to raise it considerably higher. There was another company that was created to replace that, and Kent can explain where we're at with that.
The local government property insurance fund is a state-run property insurance fund that has been around since 1913. As Bob mentioned, Governor Walker had originally proposed to eliminate that altogether, but in the end it was allowed to continue at least through 2016. However, the premiums for 2016 would be 94% higher, almost double what they were the 2015 premium. Just for your reference, the 2015 premiums were about $45,500, and the 2016 premium would be about $88,500. One thing to keep in mind too is that it only insures our properties. All of our liability insurance and auto insurance is through League of Wisconsin Municipalities Mutual Insurance, so that was unaffected. So this is just for the property insurance. A new company, Municipal Property Insurance Company, has been formed to offer property insurance to municipalities. Their premium for 2016 is just a little over $52,000 for the equivalent coverage. And we're also going to be increasing our deductible from $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and that'll save an additional $4,700 in premiums, bringing the 2016 premium down to a little over $47,000. So that is very comparable to what the 2015 premium was through LGPIF. The nice thing about the MPIC is that they'll continue to use ASU Group for policy administration and claims processing, just like LGPIF did. So from our end, for submitting claims, there will be no changes at all. One of the things that the LGPIF does require is that the board has to formally withdraw from the fund in order for it to be effective.
Okay. And so you guys are recommending that we approve the withdrawal?
Correct. Yep, so we can sign this form.
Is there a motion to approve the
I
withdrawal?
move.
George?
I second.
Second by John. Any other discussion?
Just a thank you to Ken, very concise, very easy to follow. The write-up you did, addressed to Bob, made it very easy to understand what the issue was, so thank you for that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Summary of the committee findings on the building project.
At our last special commission meeting, the commission instructed staff to basically we created two different committees. One was a functionality committee to look at were there benefits to merging different city entities into one location in the future. And then the other one was a site committee that looked at if we did that, where would we build that, such building. We met twice in the functionality committee and came up with a spreadsheet, which you each have, that shows the pros and cons of merging those buildings. Basically, what we concluded is that there really is no advantage. We looked at it both from the standpoint of staff and from a customer and saw no advantage. After that, then the site committee met, and since we saw no advantage of putting buildings together, they saw no need to continue looking for sites. So that's where we're at now. There has been some discussion with the city council with, as far as swimming pool issues and what's gonna happen there. So I guess for now, my recommendation would be that we just wait for that discussion to happen. Ideally, they would eliminate the swimming pool next door, and we could expand in that area.
Okay. Well, our thanks to the city departments that participated in our special commission meeting and in the functionality meetings that Bob talked about. It's unfortunate that that's the result, but at least it got talked about and we know what the outcome is. Any objection to what Bob's suggesting of wait and see what happens with the pool before we make our next step?
No, I think that would be wise to do that, just let's see what happens before we go doing something, and later on we say, whoa, that wasn't too smart.
We also have our strategic planning coming up in December, which will give us a chance to reevaluate where this project falls in our big scope of things.
I suspect it might be another 2-3 years out before we look at this again.
No, it should be, the issue between the city council and the YMCA, I know is pertinent. It's gonna happen quite soon. I mean, either nothing will happen or something should, but that's what we're waiting to find out. If there will be some type of agreement reached where they can use that for the swimming pool for the public.
They had that presentation at city council just, I think
Mhm.
just last week.
Right.
And, but no mention was made of the pool specifically, it's just an overall project.
I would agree that we're peeling away the onion. And looking at synergy with other departments was an obvious first step in that. The committees came to the conclusions they came to, and that's fine. That's why we at the table. I would agree that what happens with Hefco Pool is the next layer. That's obvious. It's right next door. It's property adjacent. We already have some understanding of what that opportunity is and what the cost model associated with that would be. I would recommend we just take it a step at a time.
Okay. That gives you your direction.
You bet. Thank you.
First review of the operations and maintenance budget.
Kent?
All right. Included with your packet was the operations and maintenance budget for 2016. I'm just going to hit some of the high points of that. The summarized operating income statements are on pages 2, 13, and 23 of the electric, water, and communication utilities. Those summarize all of the income and expenses for each utility. As you go back farther into the individual pages of each one of those utilities, there's more of the detail, both on the revenue as well as on the operating expense items. As in the past, the budgets include a comparison of 2014, the 2015 estimate, and also the 2016 budget. So you can see an actual, an estimate, and the budget all side by side. And the 2016 operating expenses included an inflation factor of 1.9%. Managers also reviewed the 2016 budget amounts and made necessary adjustments. Some of the known larger operating and maintenance projects are for the electric utility, for the M1 combustion turbine. Every 5 years, the EPA and DNR requires an air permit, and as part of that, testing is required. There's $75,000 of testing cost, an additional fuel and diesel fuel of $369,000. That's included in the budget. There will be some revenue from running the M1 that will offset some of these fuel costs. Also on the electric side, a full rate case is planned for 2016 with new electric rates effective in 2017. Based on the PSC estimate, $6,000 has been included in the electric operating budget. On the water side, there are a number of projects. There's a well rehab and also a treatment for $14,000, re-roofing a well building for $15,000, replacing light fixtures and upgrading an enunciator panel at water treatment plant for $15,000, painting the Grant Water Tower for $425,000, and touching up paint at the Manville Water Tower for $25,000. And then we're continuing our maintenance project of painting 200 water hydrants or fire hydrants at a cost of $20,000. So those costs are all incorporated into this O&M budget. Were there any specific questions that anyone had on this? Otherwise, I'll continue on with the next section.
Just a quick.
Sure.
That Grant Water Tower repaint, is that the job order that's on tonight?
Right.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that the PSC will allow us to do is to get authorization from them to spread that cost over a period of, I believe, up to 5 years. We included in the operating budget just in case the PSC does not give us that authorization so we can see the impact of it. From a cash flow standpoint, there's no effect. It's just how we're looking at the financial statements. The business plan narrative is included in the next section. It's basically just a written description of some of the operating expenses that are included in the previous section. And the last section is the rate of return analysis. And the rate of return is a level of profit that a utility is allowed to earn based on the utility's needs to maintain service to its customers and maintain and expand plant and equipment. The PSC authorizes us a rate of return for the electric and the water utilities, and those current authorized rates of return are shown on the on pages 1 and 2 of that section. For the water return analysis, for 2016, it's only showing a rate of return of 4.06%, even though we were authorized a rate of return of 5.25% with our last rate increase. Most of the reason for that is the painting of the water tower of that $425,000. If we would exclude that, then the rate of return would be actually a little bit higher than our authorized rate of return. But the PSC, when they're developing the rates, they build not just this one, but all of the long-term maintenance projects into a normalized cost and build that into our rates.
That makes sense on the water. Thank you for that highlight. Is there anything similar to that on the electric that is obscuring or hidden in there?
Well, part of it would be the M1 emission testing, between the $75,000 of actual testing cost and additional fuel of $369,000. That certainly plays into that. But we are going to be doing a full rate case in 2016 on the electric side just because of the diminishing rate of return and to just get costs in line.
And you said you had included $6,000 in the electric revenue for that rate case?
In the expense, yes.
In the expense?
Yeah, because we'll be doing the rate case in 2016, but as is typical, there's always a delay from the time that you submit it until they do the review and until the rates are effective. So we figured the rates would probably be effective January or February of 2017.
Okay.
Kent, as a point of reference, your 1.9% inflation rate, what's that based on?
Each year in fall, when we're starting to work on the budget, we request the PSC's estimate of the following year's inflation.
So that's PSC
Yes.
provided number? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And if there's no other questions, at the December meeting, the O&M budget will be reviewed and approved, and also the O&M budget forecast for 2016 and 2017 will be presented along with the cash flow forecast.
So if you have any additional comments, you can bring them back in December, and we can make modifications, whatever you see fit.
And if you have any questions with the budget, any of the specific items, feel free to let us know.
All right. Thank you. Approval of job orders.
We have two job orders. One we just talked about is the painting and reconditioning of the 500,000 gallon Grant Park Water Tower, and that's in the amount of $475,000. There's a bid opening on that November 18th. We have job order 17830, which is County Trunk Highway B, single-phase line rebuild. It's about half a mile of line in the amount of $31,071.
Is there a motion on the job orders or any discussion?
I just have a question. The painting and reconditioning of the water tower, it says optional and mandatory, it says it's optional. Is this really optional?
The criteria that was used is it mandated by a unit of government or, yeah, we could wait another year if we wanted to, let it rust. There's no unit of government that's mandating that we paint that.
Okay. And
Versus-
I'm sure you've explained that to me before and I lost it, so thank
Yeah,
you for your
it was
patience.
quite a while ago,
Bob.
yeah.
My only other question is, what's the lifespan of this paint? All right, we spent $475,000, we shroud it, we paint the inside, we paint the outside, it's pretty, it looks good, it's got a logo on it. When do we come back and do it again?
You say 20 years, 20 plus?
They're saying on the new system's 30 years. They said on the old system that's on the existing tower,
Okay. How old is that tower now?
1990. They say 20 years, we got 25 out of it on the old system.
But isn't there a periodic reconditioning or something, maintenance you have to do with that paint job?
Yeah, they tend to mold, they get wet on the outside, humidity, spores hit it, mold starts to grow. You need to wash them once in a while to keep them clean. That helps prolong your paint job. And you can touch them up, yes.
And how many water towers do we have? 4?
4 total, yeah.
Does that include the new one?
The new one, yeah.
Which hopefully we won't be painting for 25 or 30
Right.
years.
It should be a while, yeah. And this one, I don't know if you've driven by it lately, but if you look at the perimeter of it is getting kind of rusty. Start to come through the paint.
Where are we at for selling sponsorships on those?
Well, when we paint it, it's one of the questions, do we want to put the logo back up or do you want to do something different?
I'd put it out for bid, that's my
Yeah.
personal thought.
Ah,
There's gotta be a local business that would wanna purchase the rights.
I think that's a secondary conversation. but
Yeah,
worth-
absolutely.
But I think it's worth pursuing.
Mhm. Keeping in mind, painting the logo was, what,
It's being bid separately.
right, but cost.
Both logos, ours
cost of,
and theirs,
Right,
and yeah, we're getting a cost.
yeah.
Hours and who's?
Well, we talked, right now the city logo is on there, and we talked about
City of
putting the
Marshfield.
Marshfield Utilities logo.
Wasn't that 50,000? Did we talk about that?
About 40, I think, for the 2 logos, wasn't it?
And
I
that's
haven't
not
got the bid yet.
included
No, I
in the
mean, on one you're
475?
on now.
It wasn't
No,
separated out.
it's, yeah, we're north of a half
You
by
gave me
the
a
time we
price.
get done paying.
Where'd you get it?
I don't know.
I think it was 425 in the budget.
All right.
We painted, I could go back and look at, in '96, we painted Humes and added the logo later.
Oh, on the,
Yeah,
yeah, reservoir,
but that really wouldn't be a comparable.
yeah. Yeah, the drawback of trying to get someone, a sponsor, whatever, is that it is a long-term commitment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's expensive.
Okay. Is there a,
You don't wanna have a leaky water tower in 10 years.
what does that have to do
With a-
with the logo?
If you don't, no, if.
The
well,
failed
talking if you
paint.
don't paint.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna rust through.
I understand that it needs to be painted. I'm a little confused by the timing, just that we're looking at a budget that we aren't even gonna approve for a couple of months. And we're seeing a job order that's on that budget tonight, and the bids have already been let and gonna be opened.
Mhm.
The
I'm just a
18th.
little
But we-
confused by
but-
the timeline. Am I the only one?
No, you're not.
Well, it takes a while, I mean, the construction, or work won't be
It's
done.
been in the
until next
5-year plan
summer,
for 5
right.
years.
I understand.
In the management's defense, they have been bringing this to our attention for a
Mhm.
number of months
Yeah.
now. But I agree that from a serial and linear standpoint, you would have a budget, and then you would put it out to bid, and then you would open some bids, and, yeah, that would be a more elegant process,
Before you put it out for bid?
apparently.
Well, the bidding, I mean, you'll be actually approving the bids next month if you so choose. So the project.
It's already been out to bid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So we'll
it's a
approve-
timing issue that you have to get it done far enough advance to get on the schedule to be painted. So if we wait until the budget's approved and then it's out for bids, we push in the spring of the year.
So if we
So-
approve the bid next month, we'll approve it before we approve the budget that it's in.
And
We
if
can
we
put-
don't approve the budget, then what happens to the bid?
We can put the budget ahead of the bid on the agenda.
Once again, is there a motion of any kind on the job orders?
I'll make a motion to approve the job orders as presented.
Is there a second
I'll
of that
second.
motion? Second by Harry. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of bills and payroll.
Bills have been reviewed and certified properly.
Is there a motion on the bills and payroll? Motion by George, second by Harry. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none. Please vote. All those in favor? Aye.
He's practicing. He's practicing.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of previous meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? All right, Alan. Second?
Second.
By George. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review of department and financial reports.
Nick?
With my department report this month, I included 3 pages from an article that Dave and I completed with a company, a magazine called Energy and Infrastructure. They contacted us a few months ago and asked if we had any interest. We did, went through the process. The magazine itself reaches about 100,000 people across Canada and the United States. So good public relations, no cost to the utility other than our time to participate.
We did the final inspection punch list for the water tower last Thursday. So there's a few items to approve there, and that should take care of that project.
Is the same company painting it as you wanted? Getting any discount for painting too?
I can't say anything.
Kent?
Thanks for asking.
Water rate update?
Okay, the BSC has finished their review of our rate case that we submitted to them at the end of July. We've determined that we'll continue with the same rate structure with the declining block rates. The overall rate increase is 15%. The hearing with the PSC for approving the rate increase is scheduled for December 9th at 3 p.m. and everyone is welcome to attend that. As part of that, we are required to let our customers know about the hearing as well as the overall increase, and those notices are going out to the customers in their November bills. In addition to that, a press release was also issued by Marshfield Utilities regarding the rate increase. Yes.
And then just, can you remind us again, 15% on an average household is going to be what dollars per month?
It's probably going to be in the $3 range,
Thank you.
$3.50.
That's it? All right, information only. Commission education, prescription roundup.
Kathy? Any,
Self-explanatory.
yeah, anybody-
Thanks for the reading. Any questions for Kathy?
8,600 pounds so far, so.
Not enough
going
of our
strong.
logo in all the background shots. That's my feedback.
Yeah.
It's excellent work. It's one of those unsung hero efforts in my mind. I think that's the best way to put a label on it. The groundwater guardian piece, the RX roundup, all these things that we do, and we don't really boast about, and I shouldn't say we do, you do. And we don't really boast about these things, but you know what? This has a demonstrable impact positively on our community and the quality of life here, and I can't compliment you enough for the efforts that you put into this.
All right. We are looking for a motion and approval to go into closed session, considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data, ...
I so move.
Motion by John, second. Harry? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are in closed session.